All right. Welcome everyone. My name is Vicki Cody, and on the call tonight with me, I have Jeannie Badger and Cheryl Muller, and I have head referee Josh Hogan. And I have a couple quick slides to talk about, and then we can get into any game questions you guys have. So I hope you guys are all having fun building your robots, hanging out with your kids, that kind of a thing. All right, so just a couple of really quick items. Event registration is closing today. It's actually going to be open through tomorrow, but hopefully you're all registered. And if you are not registered, or if you just found First Lego League and you want to get registered, and you want to register for um, uh, a tournament that advances the state championship, please give me an email. And if registration closes, we can talk about what spots are open. So when the regular registration closes tomorrow, the non-advancing registration will stay open. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. But just wanted you guys to know that we have posted right here on our tournament schedule page, the event roster. I'd like you guys to take a look at the event roster. It is listed numerically, and check your team name. That's the team name that you guys registered with. And if you didn't have a team name when you registered, like you're like, ABC school team 2, and now you're something like the Fuzzy Bunnies, email Jeannie, and she will get it changed on the roster. Those are the names and that we are going to use to populate our demographic survey and all of our schedules and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure your kids don't want to be known as team 2. They want to be known as whatever their name is. So get those to Jeannie. Like I said, the non-advancing is going to stay open. So if you form additional teams that don't want to do the advancing tournaments and they just want to play non-advancing, that's fine. You can register those whenever you like. But the non-advancing is going to be also a second play option for people. So after you play in your regional, if the kids decide, hey, that was really fun, I want to try it again, that's the time in which you can go in and register for a second event. But we ask that you not do it right now. Wait until after you play, because if you advance to the state championship, then you're not eligible to play in the non-advancing event. So you have to wait till after you play. So today's coach call is all about the robot game. So just a quick reminder, don't read more into those mission rules than what's already there. We've gotten a couple of questions, which is great. Love to hear the kids are thinking outside the box. But it does mean exactly what it says. Don't add words in your head. So when you're looking, like for instance, I'm looking at the music, concert, light and sounds. If the speaker's orange lever is rotated completely to the left, it doesn't say how to do it. It just says completely to the left. So just if the detail's not mentioned, then don't worry about it. So we also wanted to show some launch clarifications, what is in and what is out. So before you launch your robot, so this little blue guy is my robot, and he's got an arm on him. And so over here on the left, these are within that quarter circle launch, and those are good. The three pictures on the right. So the top one, obviously, this is out. This one over here is out on the back end because it is in this black area. It has to be in the quarter circle. And this one is kind of hanging over the edge of the piece of wood. That's also out. And that could be wires. That could be something else. So just make sure when the kids are practicing that you're making sure that all of their robot is within that quarter circle. All right, and then I have a couple more to show you. So now this pink ball is something that I'm pushing out. So it could be an audience member or something else. So everything, even the stuff you're pushing out, has to be within that quarter circle. So if your little robot's starting here and your thing is sticking out here, the referees are going to ask you to back up behind that red line. These pictures on the right indicate like a jig. So if you have a jig and it extends to this back wall, that's okay. So you put the jig in place, you put your robot in place. As long as you're not touching and holding down that jig, it's just sitting there and your robot's sitting there, you push your robot, go. The jig stays here, your robot goes off, that's fine. This jig like this is also fine because your robot is still in. This one is not on the bottom, is not all right because the jig is out on the front end. So it's extending beyond that red line. So they're going to ask you to pull that jig in behind the red line on the bottom. All right. Hopefully that's clear. Whoops. The other thing we wanted to quick mention is where the experts start, because it's not in the missions, it's in field setup, and we want to make sure that your experts are starting in the right place as you're practicing, because this is how they're going to start on the mat. So Sam, the stage manager, is up here on the stage, and you can see these corresponding dots. So this is on page 28 of your robot game rulebook in field setup. So make sure that the kids know where they start, and make sure when you practice with them there, because this blue one down here on the right, that's Emily, you know, she's sort of in the way if your robot's heading out, you know, from this right side. And she will be there during the event. So just make sure that these guys are starting in the correct place. And there's only one, and that's Anna, who starts in home. And she can start either on the left side or the right side. It doesn't matter. They just happen to show her here on the left. We also want to remind you that game scoring happens at the end. The 2.5 minutes is over. So if your robot goes rogue and starts destroying things, it can unscore what you've done. Also, just so you know, the Minnesota scoring app is up on our website, so you can practice with it. It is under the FLL section of our website in the 2023 masterpiece. Open it up, and there is an accordion that you can open up that has our Minnesota scoring app. And so the kids can get used to what it looks like. So when the referees are going over scoring with them, they'll just be familiar with what it is. Jeannie, did you want to look at that now, or do you want me to finish? I can't hear you.
Go ahead and finish.
Okay, thanks. All right, we're going to go back and look at that scoring app at the end here. All right, there was a robot game update that was dated the 16th, but it came out today. And it is about this augmented reality mission model that we've talked to you guys about before. I think the last time we had a call, we talked to you about how the model, depending on how you built it, worked different ways. And we finally heard back from FIRST. We sent this into them, you know, a couple weeks ago, and they just issued this update. So originally we told you this photograph here in the middle, if this portion of the model, which is actually right here on the model, if you could see teeth on it, that little orange lever would start to move, and eventually gravity would take over and it would swing. But the new update says that teams should be prepared to rotate the orange activation lever all the way around. So now all of our models, even though I know a couple weeks ago we said they weren't going to be like this, Now all of our models, we're going to essentially squish this white piece down towards the flat piece so you can't see these teeth anymore. And you'll know it's right because as you move that orange lever, I'll show you this video that I did today, the orange lever doesn't swing. So this is just us. So if you, as you see, as the orange lever moves, it doesn't swing anymore. So and that's by pushing this down and squishing it together. So that is how all of the mission models are going to act. And we know it's kind of a bummer, but they just issued this update today. So that is what ours are going to, how ours are going to operate. All right, so our next call's Monday, October 30th. We're going to take some questions. Jeannie, were there questions about the augmented reality? No, you're not, you're muted.
No,
Sorry.
but I have two questions on the people submitted. Let me go
Okay.
back and find those really quick. One says, does the jig need to be removed before the robot can run? And I think you addressed that pretty well. No, you don't have to move the jig. It can stay there, but you cannot be
Let's see, where is
holding it from
there?
moving.
Yeah. So as long as it's within, it's not beyond the red line here, or the other side, it's a blue line.
All right. And then the other question is kind of a couple questions in one. If the experts are brought back to the home base, can they be separated from the stands, or the stands need to stay with the experts? You are not allowed to actually take mission models apart. And that is, where is that in the rules? I'm trying to find the exact one. I should have looked this up beforehand. Teams may not separate the dual lock, take mission models apart, or break a mission model. That is on page 20 of the robot game rulebook under item number 4. So you cannot take those apart. The second question is, can the team run a program immediately prior to the start of their competition? For example, they want to set the yaw angle to 0. Yes, you are allowed to do that. And that is in the before match setup on page 18. That's when they say team, after the team has passed inspection, they'll be given a couple minutes. And we always say not really a couple minutes, but a couple moments. But yes, you do have that time before you set, after your inspection, to calibrate your robot if you need to do it, or to set the yaw or anything like that. So those are the two questions that we got from the form. And if anyone else has questions, they can either unmute or type a message in the chat. And I'm not seeing anything in the chat yet.
When it comes to the experts too, if the expert gets removed from the base accidentally, the robot is pushing it, drives over it or something, it will not score. The expert and the base need to be firmly attached to score.
Then we've got a question for, whoop.
Oh, I was going to address what Cheryl said. And she's right. I was going to open with it, and I already forgot. Holy Family, our Victoria location, is doing a Q&A session. So Josh and another referee are going to be there. This other referee, like Josh, is also a judge. And so they've invited teams to come on Wednesday night with their robot, with their questions. They'll have a table up. And all they ask is that you sign up to tell them that they're going to be there. The link to register is on the High Tech Kids Facebook page. Oh, Twitter and Instagram. Cheryl, if you have that link, could you put it in the chat? If you have it handy. Hopefully Cheryl can find that and throw that in the chat. If anyone's interested, it's free to go.
All right, we've got a couple questions in chat. One of them is for mission 15, do experts and platforms need to touch the mat? No, the rule says if the following experts are at least partly in their target destination. It does not say they have to be touching the mat. So they just have to be in, and in can be a volume. It can be up here, or they can be touching the mat, but they don't have to be touching the mat.
Yeah, they can be sitting on something, you know, a platform. They can be sitting on the robot, whatever.
It could be in something. And
Yep.
actually, what I thought were questions in the chat were actually just Cheryl saying she's going to find the link. This one.
Do you guys want chili?
And
Really?
then this one says, can audience members be attached to experts? Sorry if you answered this already. We didn't answer it here. Josh, you want to take a swing at that one?
So the audience members can be attached to the experts. Just remember that the audience members must be completely in the target destinations, and the experts only need to be partly in the destinations. And then when it comes to delivering audience members or experts, Anna, the curator, specifically out to the museum, if you're taking the pedestal with your art piece out there, make sure that the art piece is touching nothing other than the pedestal. Because I know we've had a couple questions on, can we attach the audience members or the expert to the pedestal? And yes, you can. They have to be completely in or partly in, depending on whether it's an audience member or an expert, and they cannot be touching the art piece.
And when you're attaching mission models together or to something else, don't forget they have to be attached in such a way that they come apart easily
Immediately.
and immediately and without damaging the mission model. So you can't decapitate an audience member or
None of this. We've got a question more about judging. It says, my kids are obsessing over copyright on our project. They're making a board game version of Minecraft. That sounds fun. For the competition, do we need to rename the game and characters? No. It's okay to use that Minecraft name. You can do that. And I would just, make sure you're explaining it to the judges. Don't assume that the judges know what Minecraft is. So there may be, the kids may want to maybe give an explanation a little bit of what Minecraft is.
If the
Some
kids
of our
are,
judges have been around a while.
yeah.
if the kids are interested in copyright though, tell them that there are some ways to get around copyrights, like misspelling the name Minecraft, putting a Y instead of an I in it, or something like that.
Gosh, interesting.
Oh. Minecrafty.
That's right.
You're welcome. Another copyright question. Can we use pictures from others in things that we create? Yes, and same thing, if you're taking a photo of a kid, if it's a kid that you just may want to make sure that they're okay with their picture being shared. But if you're taking something off the internet or pictures of other things, that's fine.
If they are NFTs or artwork or something like that, or some published work from somebody people would recognize, it's always good to make sure that there are credits in their sources. You
Yeah.
can easily use that as some of your sources.
That's right. All right. Oh, I guess everybody's robot's working perfectly. Figured out your strategy.
Actually, I'll ask a question.
Sure.
Jeannie, I was the one emailing you today about our robot just randomly shutting down.
Yeah.
So I talked to the kids. You asked me about broadcast something. They know nothing about that. So if they're doing it, it's by accident.
Yeah, they would know it pretty clearly if they were actually doing it. So
Okay. But yeah, it basically, we were working with it and it was going fine and then randomly would just shut down for us.
Yeah, so if you have access to another hub and another battery, I would try, and that would help us figure out if it's a software issue or if it's something the kids have done in the code, or if you've got a bad battery. Unfortunately, these batteries don't seem to have the life of the EV3s. If you can't
Yeah,
get a hold of one, let me know.
okay. Yeah, the one that we were working with was the one that we just got in a new kit. We do have
Oh.
access to one, but it's a few years old and it's been sitting for well over a year with no charge.
Yeah,
So,
that's very fine. I would
okay,
charge it up and then just do some testing. And if you do have a
okay,
bad battery, Lego is really pretty darn good about helping you troubleshoot that and then
okay,
helping you out with that too.
okay, thanks.
You bet. Yeah, and Riley says contact Lego Education. They'll send that replacement battery.
Okay, good. I did that today. Thank you.
Okay, super.
I have a question. So we have been experiencing issues with straight lines with our robot. Basically, if we put an arm on it, a very light arm, all of a sudden it starts moving towards to the right. Sometimes it works just fine and it goes directly in a straight line, and other times it moves to the right. And we're thinking it's a motor. I'm just not sure. Has anyone else experienced that? Because this is something that's we have limited resources, at least at the school that I'm at. So just wondering if if we go down the path of a new motor, maybe that's something worth, trying to find another motor and getting it replaced.
Yeah, so I think the first thing I would do is, if it's possible, is I would actually flip your motors and see if you're now turning to the left, and then you're going to know that you've got kind of something funny going on with your motors. If you're using the Word, if you're using the Spike Prime and you're using the Word version, you're not using Python. If you're using those pink movement blocks, that should do what it does is the two motors kind of listen to each other and see if one's going faster, and then it'll slow down the other one. It tries to keep them going about the same. So if you're using those pink movement blocks, but if you've got, if you're heavy on one side, that is going to turn you. So that's part of their robot design and part of figuring, do they have an issue there and that arm is too heavy, or when they're moving something. I would also look to make sure you don't have cables that are rubbing, or robot pieces that are rubbing on there. And then if they discover that they do have that, they should talk about that during their robot design judging session, because that's something that they learn. If you continue having problems, give me a holler and we can talk about some other suggestions and stuff.
Cool, I
Yeah, we-
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep, I like
We
talking
do hear about
robots.
things like that in design judging, and also on the table as a ref every once in a while, and making sure that nothing is rubbing on the wheel or the motor. Making sure that your motors are securely attached to the robot. Sometimes those will come loose. Making sure the attachment, because it only happens when the attachment is put on, sometimes that will bump a wire and loosen it or pull it out slightly. So making sure things like that are squared away. But
Sounds good.
definitely
Thank you.
have the kids document their process and share it with the judges, especially the design judge.
And remembering it's a
Yes.
toy. It's a toy. It's not a real robot.
It's a real robot.
Well,
It's just not a precision instrument.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
thank
have
you.
kind of a general judging question. For the first time ever, I have kids that aren't interested in the robot. They're interested in the innovation project. If they're still expected to talk in the robot judging, though, correct?
You should try to, I mean, if I had a team like that, I had definitely robot kids and definitely project kids, but they each knew enough about the other thing to answer good softball questions, just very general questions. If there was a technical question about programming or you know, the engineering thought process design behind something, somebody else would answer that. But like a basic, they should probably know, yeah, this was our strategy because it was easy, or some sort of easy, there's some questions they should, just like your robot kids should be able to answer project questions.
Yeah, we're making them, yeah, everybody take a turn on everything, but there's
Yep.
some that are just like, please don't make me do the robot.
Well, they don't have to run the robot,
Yeah,
because I had kids who didn't even want to run the robot because it was they just didn't, it's too stressful for them. But they could talk about it, talk about something. It doesn't have to be in depth, but just something.
okay.
Very, very often the judges will ask the kids, did everybody get a chance to code? Did everybody get a chance to build? And if somebody didn't, we'll ask why. Is it something you weren't interested in? Did you just not get a chance? Were you focusing on other things? So that's part of the team explaining their journey to
Yeah.
us as far as how did they get to where they are. But it is good to try to get the kids to try everything.
Yeah.
And then tell us about it and document it too.
All right, Jeannie, here's a question for you. For gyro turns and booting up still without movement, in the past, it has worked to boot up on the competition floor, or are there too many vibrations in that area and will it throw off the gyro? Is it best to do it in a back hallway where it's quieter and then come out? I mean, probably come out to the competition floor.
It does depend on which version of the software you're using. The version 3, the most up-to-date one, seems to be a little bit better with the gyro. It's not as sensitive on that startup. So it's not that big thing. If you're using the EV3, then that does have to be not moving for the entire time of startup. But with the gyro on the Spike Prime hub, it doesn't take as long. My suggestion would be, if you can, because the Spike Prime takes about 20 minutes before it goes to sleep. So you could certainly do it out before you come into the performance area. Make sure they aren't moving it, set it down. I would still do a little quick test if it's something that you're concerned about. Vibrations in the area, like the sound vibrations, that's not going to mess with the gyro startup, but kids jumping around, waving that robot around are going to. So
Yeah, bumping the table as they're getting set up and such.
Right.
But remember to bring only one robot to the performance round, and try to have the robot on, because it does take a little while for these to turn on, and it would be nice if they were all on and ready to go. But if the kids do need to calibrate a light sensor, a color sensor, they want to calibrate the gyro, they can definitely do that at the table.
All right. Anybody else with anything? Any question? Judging? More robots? Cookie recipes for kids, anything. All right.
if you come up with questions after, feel free to send us emails. Send them to me, and then if something I can't answer, I will chat with our other head refs, and we will come up with an answer to that as well.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So,
Yeah.
we're a new team and we're going through all the learning stuff. So we're going through like the tutorials and we're going through the training camps or whatever. I think that's the right way to go about it, but basically it feels like it's a lot of stuff to get through before we're ready to like make our own custom design of the robot and get everybody like familiar enough to be able to like start working on the game. I'm just wondering, am I approaching it right? And also, like, what are your thoughts about trying to get the kids through the learning curve so that they can move on to their design?
You're gonna.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I personally love tutorials. I think they're awesome. That base, there's a couple base robot builds that Lego gives you. they're not bad to start with. They're a pretty decent place to start. Your kids are probably not going to build a brand new robot from scratch, especially if they're a rookie team. It's something that they'll kind of learn. So think about that first year is your learning year, and have some success, use that base robot and then improve it, make it sturdier, figure out where you want, if you want that arm motor to be underneath or to the side or on the top. But if you've got that robot moving, that's huge. Don't worry about doing all that advanced coding. You kind of get those, you'll get to those later. That first year, it's about having some fun, figuring some things out. Come to an early tournament if you can, see some things. The kids will learn things there. You'll see some how people improved on that basic robot design. And then even if they start with that basic robot, they'll make some changes, and then they should share that in design judging. You guys knew that was coming. Yeah.
Yeah, starting with especially as a first year team, starting with the base robot design, that's perfectly fine. You can do a lot with that design. One of the things you can do is have the kids figure out, how do we put something on that robot to do things? And then explaining to the judges, how did we cater our um, our strategy to get points and complete missions with this robot?
Okay,
And-
so it sounds like I'm kind of on
Yeah.
the right track, just kind of accept that we're gonna be a learning curve year, try and keep it fun.
Right. Yeah. I would agree. And I would say too, from the standpoint of from the project side, I would look at some of those project sparks if your kids haven't picked something yet. But you don't have to go through all the sessions that are in these books. They're just, you can do some of them, you can do none of them, you can do all of them. But I think there's a lot in here. And I'm not sure that, depending on when you're competing, you might not be able to get through every single session, but I think you can probably pick and choose and kind of look and say, all right, we're far enough on this part, so then we can just kind of go off on our own. So too.
Yeah, and we've got an experienced coach in here. It said the driving base advanced driving build instructions are in the Spike Prime app. Primelessons.org also has some good robot designs to start with. Primelessons.org, it's not a high-tech kids site. It's a site put together by a couple of kids that have done FLL. They're actually in college now, and that actually is a great place because they've got kind of the programming broken down into chunks so you can learn some basics, and they've got some really advanced stuff in there, so don't worry about that. But kind of they've got also good places to start learning some basics.
Can you say that name again?
Prime Lessons, PRIME, lessons.org.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Riley did put that in the chat
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
if you
And
could
we
read the
also
chat.
have that linked if you go to our site under resources. We have they're also listed under our resources as well. They're a pretty good resource. So
Okay, great. Another question is I ran across, so I work for Medtronic, and at our conference or whatever, there was a college team that came, and it was a super cool big robot. And I'm thinking I want to bring the kids to one of the college teams competitions. I think I can find it. I think I can find the competitions local, but where would I find?
do you
'Cause I they're
know,
open?
so was it college or high school?
College, U of M.
I would try, so the University of Minnesota has a robotics club, and I don't know their website, but I think it's
Norm
called,
might.
I think it's like U of M robotics. I think they're just called the University of Minnesota Robotics Club. I know they have a website.
Okay.
So try Googling that, and maybe even
Okay.
putting it into the University of Minnesota website search.
I'm not aware of them hosting at U of M any contests though, at U of M. I mean, they have a high school first robotics competition. That's not till March of 2024. So their season doesn't start till January.
Yeah, that sounded right. Like they were showing off an older robot, and they were saying it was in the spring.
Yeah, they start in January and they compete in March, and then occasionally have some off-season events throughout the year.
Okay, thank
And it
you.
looks like South Washington County Schools has an event on November 4th. So that must be a high school robotics competition.
Yeah, and my advice would be, if you want to see if you can come to an earlier first Lego League event, that would really help your team, because they can actually see what the event looks like and see judging and see some other robots. That's usually really inspiring for the kids. And then after
Yeah,
the
yeah.
season's over, you can go see the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. That was thinking kind of the
Yes.
inspiration. I'm hoping to keep the team together, or at least a portion of it.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a question up here. Can the Orange audience members be hanging on the expert loops if they're completely in a location? Yeah, they can be connected. But like Josh said before, the Orange people have to be completely in.
Yep.
What else do we have? Oh.
Come to Prior
Uh,
Lake, Sarah says.
Yep, Sarah says come to Prior Lake. And actually, fun fact, Prior Lake, that event, which is November, I believe, 18th, the Saturday before Thanksgiving, will have all 4 first robotics levels happening. So we will have the really, really big robots for high school. The other middle and high school program that High Tech Kids runs, called First Tech Challenge. We'll have First Lego League, and we will also have First Lego League Explore. So that's a big day. So lots
All right,
of
and then
robots.
Vicky, I just want to show the scoring software quick.
Yep, go ahead. I will stop my share.
Okay. So here it is on our website. As Vicky said, it's under the accordion here, Judging Rubrics Minnesota Scoring App. So this is what, are you seeing that?
Yep.
So this is what the kids will actually see on the refs tablets. So it's not the same as the app that First has shared, and the way our refs are going to go around the table is a little bit different. So it's simple yes, no's, just clicking on those, and that will actually, this will show you the score on the app that the refs have on their tablets. The kids will not see a score. They will just see the yes, no, yes, no. So going through there, you can see they're not in numerical order, because we skipped number 4 here. So what our refs do is they go around the table, and then they will visit each of the areas. The cinema area, they'll mark how many audience members are in there, and if that specific cinema expert is in there. And then they'll go to the mask, which is the theater area. Then they'll go to skateboard. How many members are in there? Is he in there? Audience members. And then we'll talk about the masterpiece model, because this is now when the refs will be at the museum. So they will determine if the masterpiece model is there. Again, how many members are in there. If they end up with too many audience members, if they hit 7, or they're trying to say 8 are in, you're going to get this red flag, and it says too many audience members. So that's a sign for the kids and the refs to go back and say, oh, there was only 1 in that area. So it's going to do an automatic check if the kids say there's too many. All right. Yes. And then what that does is down here, it's a computed goal, and it's kind of showing, or I'll move that there, is showing that they're getting those 5 points, those bonus points for each one. And then at the tournament, the kids will say, do you agree with this? And the ref will go through it. They'll, kind of walk through, they'll be walking through this as they go through. And then the kids will say yes, and then we will submit that score. So that is what our app looks like. And it's just kind of nice for the kids to be familiar with it and see how it works, especially the fact that it doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to go around the table, and then they will visit each of those expert and audience member locations. That's available to you guys. If you have questions about it, email me, and I can help you out with that.
And definitely
Uh,
encourage your kids to work with the refs. If they come up to the table and they see something that is out of place or they want to see something moved, see how something actuates, ask the ref, have them ask the ref to do that. Um, encourage the kids to engage with the ref when the ref is scoring it. Most of our refs will say, all right, guys, come here and let's score this. But encourage your kids to do that on their own and double check the score. If there are any scoring questions or issues, definitely find the head ref. We're happy to chat with the kids and see what's going on and try to understand what happened.
Right, and we had a question about the tournament roster. So if you go under FLL tournament schedule, click on that. And then down here is our roster. And then if you click on that, you'll see a list. It shows you what tournament you're in, what team name I have for you. If you want to change that affiliation name, please let me know. And again, send those to Jeannie at High Tech Kids. And I will get those changed. If you send me an email with a change, I will always email you back and say, I got your change and made your change.
All right. Any other questions out there?
Yeah, you answered this one in the chat, Vicky, but Michelle asked if the expert isn't in and an audience member is attached or in the loop is in, is it considered, does it score? And yes, the expert, the base, and the loop all are part of that mission model. So if any part of that is in, it will count.
But they still have to be intact.
Yes,
Together.
they need to be together.
Yes. So, all right. So if there aren't any other questions, our last call will be on I believe it's on the 30th. And I'll send out a reminder the week before because I believe it's a Monday. And we will post this. I recorded this meeting and we will post this with the chat on that tournament. I'm sorry, on the training page where you found the link for this. But last call for questions. Anybody? Nobody?
How about connecting with other coaches? Or so like that's been something on my mind is maybe like trying to connect with a more experienced coach. How would I go about doing that?
So we don't actually have a formal way. We were going to start a group this year and actually, I'll be honest, just didn't have time to do it. But we don't actually have a formal way, but look, there's Sarah Steffen just put her email into the chat. Sarah's been a coach for quite a few years and has some great knowledge. And she's down in Prior Lake. So if you're in that direction, we just don't have a formal way to do that. Our partnership with First says that we can't share coaches' contact information unless both people agree. But if you are, and
Yeah,
there's
and
Jenna.
Jenna's there
Okay,
too.
and there's Jenna. Jenna's up north, but also been a coach for a long period of time. Those are people who can probably answer a wide variety of questions for you there. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, hopefully next year we'll get some sort of more formal way for Minnesota people to chat. So
I have a quick question.
yeah.
I just looked at the names. I was asking the question about where the names were, and we're
Oh.
still named as Team Red, which is one of the coach's last names, and that was supposed to be changed to Blockheads. And so I did a search for Blockheads because there's a lot of names in there, and there is already a Blockheads, but we have our shirts being printed and all that. Is that okay to have two names that are the same? One's I think up in Bemidji or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, that's fine. Just email Jeannie, like your team number and how you spelled Blockheads. One year we had two teams named CIA. One was CIA and the other one was C.I.A. And they were at the same event, and it was pretty funny because when the judges were talking about it, that's how the conversation was. Do you mean CIA or C.I.A.? So it's not unusual.
And just make sure at the tournament your kids know their team number, because we do everything by team number. That's how you are talked. That's how you're scheduled for judging, scheduled at the tables. The refs will be looking at the team number on their tablet. So make sure the kids make sure they know their team number.
Yeah, it is spelled differently, so we do have that going for us.
There you go. That's awesome then.
Yep. So send that to me and I will get that taken care of
Okay, thank
tomorrow.
you.
Yeah. All right. If there's nothing else, we'll let you guys enjoy your evening. Good luck with your team. And don't forget, if before, our next coach call, if you guys have a question, if the kids, have a question on a strategy for the robot game, or a question about if your project is if that's something that you can do, feel free to email us and we will, if we can't answer your question, we will find the answer for you. So, and that's why we're here. All right. All right. Well, have a great evening, and good night.
And thank you for coaching and all you do for
Yeah.
the kids.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Removed them.
Wow. That took a while. I was wondering if people had left it up and they had walked away.
Well, I think sometimes people do.
Yeah.
So then you just have to click on them and you remove them, but you have to unclick report them to Zoom.
Oh, I didn't
'Cause
know
if
you
you-
could remove them.
Yeah, so you can ask them to mute, you can mute them, you can turn their audio
Oh.
off.
In the beginning, I was